I thank you for your interest because I recognize that the report I'm releasing today is not the most compelling municipal news story this year. I can't begin to match the headlines coming out of Toronto City Hall, and it isn't going to be mentioned on any late-night comedy shows. But it is no less important because this report is about the health of our local democracy. For just 6 years now, in addition to handling about 20,000 complaints per year about the provincial government, my office has had the additional responsibility of investigating public complaints about closed meetings in municipalities. This is because in 2008, Ontario implemented what is known as the Sunshine Law. It ensures municipal officials keep their meetings open to the public and allows the public to complain when they have been shut out. Last year, we received so many complaints about closed meetings, I decided to create a special annual report for these cases, which are investigated by our open meeting law enforcement team, or OMLET. This year, the number of cases has more than doubled. The good news is that 6 years in, citizens have caught on and are using the Sunshine Law to hold their municipal council accountable. The bad news is that we have a patchwork system, and the gaps that have been there from the start are now gaping holes that can no longer be ignored. Ontarians deserve an equal level of transparency from their local governments, no matter where they live. Some municipalities deliver, but many are falling short. After 6 years, it is time for the province to step in and ensure that its law is being upheld. I've already offered the Premier some suggestions for strengthening the Sunshine Law, and I will reiterate them when I meet her next month. Les Ontariens méritent un niveau égal de transparence de la part de leurs gouvernements locaux, quelle que soit leur résidence. Certaines municipalités sont à la hauteur des attentes, mais beaucoup ne le sont pas. Après 6 ans, il est temps que la province intervienne et garantisse le respect de sa loi. J'ai déjà fait certaines suggestions à la Première ministre pour renforcer la loi sur la transparence et je vais les réitérer quand je la rencontrerai de nouveau le mois prochain. We often hear from politicians at all levels that they are ultimately accountable to the voters. This is true, but the test of our democracy should not come just every 4 years at ballot time. There are standards of transparency that we expect our officials to meet every day, and they should face consequences when they fail. Instead, what we have in Ontario today is a system where some municipalities consistently and repeatedly flaunt the law or devise silly stratagems to get around it while others observe it strictly, and so others function in blissful ignorance. This year we saw the truly comical spectacle of London councillors saying they just happened to meet at a local waterhole on a Saturday morning off the beaten track, days before an important budget vote, when the cell phone records we subsequently obtained told a very different story. We had to turn away more than 50 complaints after Sudbury councillors took a sudden emergency vote, allegedly planned by email in advance, to oust my office as investigator in the wake of a report they didn't like. One mayor thought a secret, unpublicized council meeting couldn't be considered closed because they had the door open. Other councils persist in taking show of hands to vote behind closed doors. And many mistakenly close just about any meeting they think have something to do with litigation, or fail to keep records because they think they shouldn't. Some politicians use tricks, like absenting themselves from gatherings where business is discussed, to make sure they are always one short of a quorum. And then they complain that the rules shouldn't prevent them from socializing. To be clear, no one is trying to stop them from having a good time. These rules are there to stop them from playing games with the law. There is a difference. Clearly, there's a need for education here as well as enforcement, and that is one of the key aims of this report. There is a stunning lack of information in this province about how the Sunshine Law works. And there are almost as many interpretations as there are municipal lawyers in Ontario. There is no one to referee, no central clearinghouse for reports to allow the public to compare municipalities. My office has worked to cut through the confusion, but there is much work to do. Les élections municipales de l'an prochain pourraient déclencher, pour les contrevenants à la loi sur la transparence, le type de conséquences que la loi sur les municipalités ne porte pas en elle. En attendant, j'espère que ce rapport éclairera plus de dirigeants municipaux et de citoyens, et j'encourage tous les journalistes, les blogueurs, les citoyens qui m'écoutent aujourd'hui, à poursuivre leurs efforts afin de parvenir à une transparence uniforme partout dans la province. Next year's municipal elections might well bring the kind of consequences for violators of the Sunshine Law that the Municipal Act itself lacks. Until then, I hope this report enlightens municipal officials and citizens, and I encourage all of the journalists, bloggers, and average citizens listening today to keep working to ensure we have consistent transparency across this province. Thank you.
Councils, it seems like councils are going, some councils, at least municipal councils, are going to great lengths to keep their voters in the dark.
There is, in my view, a putrefactive decay in democracy at the municipal government level due to the consistent insistence on officials to continue conducting city business secretly and illegally. We have found that in 20% of cases that we've investigated, that has been the case. And it's completely unacceptable when the law itself has been in existence since Confederation. This is not a new principle. What's new is injecting the Ombudsman of Ontario in the process since 2008 to investigate these city councils.
Part of the problem, certainly not in Sudbury or London, but in some of these smaller communities that there's no media to keep tabs on them.
That's correct. More and more the media are getting involved. More and more citizen bloggers are holding citizens who are involved in municipal government using social media to tap into proceedings at the municipal level more than ever before. Our complaints have doubled in the last year, which shows an increased awareness and sensitivity by citizens, and I think that is encouraging. Unfortunately, some council appear to be addicted to secrecy, and they like the old style backroom secret meeting where all the business really takes place without having the media pester them and without being accountable for the decisions to the public. And that's why I think that the Ontario government, by simply ignoring the issue so far, has become an enabler to this secrecy, to this disease we see at the municipal level. Meanwhile, hanky-panky continues to take place in the back rooms, and the council are continuing to cling to cloak and dagger, old-school boardroom politics, and that's what we're trying to discourage today.
It's part of the problem. There is no consequences. Okay, you investigate, you say that A and B councils had these illegal meetings, but what happens?
Yeah, the law is toothless. There's no consequence at all except being reprimanded publicly by the ombudsman. And then again, I think one of the biggest flaws to the legislation is that it allows municipalities to opt out of the jurisdiction of the ombudsman. I mean, this is incredible. I've done investigations where councillors, for example, in London, publicize daily that unless they get the results they want at the end of the investigation, that they will opt out, as if that will create a chilling effect on my work. We have many city councils, the municipality of Leeds and Thousand Islands, for example, where I issued a report last Friday reprimanding them for holding a secret meeting where their defense was, well, we kept the door open. And they proceeded on Monday to oust my office's jurisdiction. And I can't think of any line of work where you can simply shoot the messenger and get rid of oversight. I mean, don't you think today the Ontario Power Generation would have liked to fire the Auditor General? Don't you think when you get stopped by the police for speeding, you could fire the cop? Go to court, you get a decision you don't like, you fire the judge? This is what's happening in municipalities across Ontario. Now, some of them are coming back to the fold, some of them are leaving, but the normal process is we do our investigation, we do our work, and then suddenly in a fit of pique, the municipality opts out, outs my jurisdiction. My salary stays the same, my office budget stays the same, I just move on. We have 20,000 cases a year. But I say it's not good for democracy, that's not good for accountability at the municipal level.
When we think of municipal politics, a couple of things. Ford and what happened in the city of Toronto. We also look at the city of London with charges being laid with some expenses down there. We think of Hazel McCallion not remembering, she didn't break any rules because there was no rules to break when she had a piece of land that was worth $12 million in her son's name. Is the Municipal Act broken, or the City of Toronto Municipal Act broken?
I think the municipal law is in need of a major shakeup. Justice Cunningham of the Ontario Superior Court issued a report over 2 years ago on how to deal with the issue of conflict of interest. It was an excellent report. A lot of effort went into it. It's been sitting on a shelf. My area of jurisdiction is investigating allegations of secret illegal meetings in municipalities. I have found that 20% of cases I've investigated, they have been cases of illegality with no teeth. And in many cases, municipalities in a fit of pique have simply ousted my jurisdiction. So there's a problem there, there's no doubt about it. As far as the City of Toronto is concerned, I don't have any jurisdiction there, and I prefer not to comment in view of that.
Should you have jurisdiction there when you have see?
Well, you know, I think whatever system has to be out there has to be uniform and consistent. Whether it's the Office of the Ombudsman or another body, we can't have this patchwork of oversight in Ontario, which allows the person overseen to be able to fire the overseer. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think the crisis you've seen in Toronto recently, compounded by others that you've seen across the province, compounded by my experience here, is not a coincidence. I think the municipal governance is in need of very close attention by the province.
Vous pouvez expliquer ce qui se passe dans l'ensemble de la province avec votre rapport? Il semble qu'il y a des municipalités qui respectent la loi, qui respectent les règles, et qu'il y en a quelques-unes qui ne les respectent pas. Et souvent, est-ce que c'est vraiment ce qu'on remarque, ou est-ce que c'est plus varié que ça? Il semble que London, Sudbury, par exemple, ont beaucoup de plaintes, mais il y en a d'autres qui en ont presque pas non plus. Alors, comment est-ce que vous qualifiez ce qui s'est passé?
L'Ombudsman de l'Ontario peut recevoir des plaintes qu'une municipalité s'est rencontrée à huis clos de façon illégale pour les affaires de la ville. Et puis, la pratique à travers l'Ontario varie énormément. Il y a 444 municipalités, dont 191 relèvent de notre bureau. 20% des cas qu'on a acceptés, on les a trouvés justifiés, motivés. Donc, des réunions à huis clos qui ont été menées de façon illégale. C'est un gros problème. Il y a des municipalités qui sont excellentes, mais comme la municipalité d'Oshawa, par exemple. Mais il y en a d'autres qui ont besoin beaucoup d'attention et de correction. I want to mention that one of the recommendations I made last year was to record these secret meetings. Because when we come in and investigate, we want to find out whether the meeting was illegally held or whether it could fall within one of the exceptions in the legislation. For example, solicitor-client privilege. So we recommended to municipality that they record these meetings. How better way for me to check the discussion to see whether or not it is legal or not than to look at an electronic recording. And I'm pleased to say that several cities such as Oshawa, Lambton Shores, Midland, Madawaska Valley, and the township of Tiny have adopted this procedure, so it's not all bad news. In the case of the city of Oshawa, we've seen a great deal of improvement since we took that city to task in 2007. So I'd like, if you will, right now to pass to the reporters who are online. Do we have a question online?
Thank you. As a reminder, please press star 1 if you have a question. First question is from Tafaya Morrow from the Hamilton Spectator. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks a lot for taking my question. My question really does deal with the City of Hamilton, and you did mention your disapproval or your criticism that Hamilton City Council opted not to record its in-camera meetings. However, how do you think City Council did in the past year over some of the other years that you had some recommendations for them?
The city of Hamilton has not been on our radar in the last year, so we haven't. There's nothing really noteworthy to mention about the city in terms of illegal meetings. I am disappointed though that the city did not start recording their council proceedings. You know, Oshawa did it. Oshawa is a large city, and the ceiling didn't come crashing on council's head. In fact, we had a couple of investigations in Oshawa. It allowed us to come in and out quickly and efficiently without taking up time or resources. So I know some municipalities like Hamilton have been cautious, but hopefully they will see the experience of other municipalities. Just you start recording things instead of doing minutes manually, produce a much more accurate record that will end up absolving you if you met properly, publicly or properly in camera, but using the exceptions under the legislation. Next question.
Our next question is from Sean Meyer from London Community News. Please go ahead.
Ombudsman, you've had a lot of time in London recently. You've made a lot of recommendations that council has unanimously agreed to. Is that an indication that maybe they just didn't get it, and as you pointed to earlier, they need more education on what the rules are? Or is this just that they got caught and then decided to agree with what you told them?
I went personally before the City of London Council to present on the operations of our office. That council has been notoriously difficult in terms of cooperation during the investigation. We believe that during our last investigation we were misled on several points. That's why we had to go back and re-interview some councillors and obtain some documentation. Our report was extremely favorably received by the public in London, and I think that may have convinced council to accept our recommendations. Now, I do hope that if there is ever to be another investigation in London, that we can proceed much more amicably now that they're even more familiar with how we proceed. But as we were doing the last investigation in London, being reminded that a councillor had a motion to oust our office of jurisdiction was an attempt to intimidate the course of the investigation, an attempt to create a chilling effect. And of course, there's no way that this office would be affected by that. But I think it demonstrates that there's an attitude adjustment required on the part of some of the councillors there. Next question.
Thank you. The next question is from Linda Hillman-Rapley from Lakeshore Advanced Sun Media. Please go ahead.
You talk about the backroom hanky-panky. Does the same apply for email and phone meetings?
Yes, but it has to fall within the definition of a meeting, which is council coming together to do city business, or meeting prior to city business in order to lay the groundwork to conduct city business. So simply emailing a councillor, meeting socially, discussing issues one-on-one, in a non-organized fashion is not a problem. In many instances, councillors have said very inflammatory things, such as, the way the Ombudsman defines meetings, we wouldn't be able to go to a funeral together. We wouldn't be able to have a coffee together, and that's just nonsense. That's putting up a straw man so you can knock it down. What we are saying, though, is you can't conduct serial meetings over emails. You can't start emailing everybody asking positions and votes and rallying all the discussion online in order to just show up and have a 5-minute council meeting where everybody just records their vote. That's making a mockery of democracy and involving the public. What's the purpose of open meetings if you're just going to show up publicly and rubber stamp whatever you've all discussed over emails, Blackberries? So it's really an issue of applying common sense. And we've been trying to reinforce to council members that even the exceptions that are in the Act, they're not obligatory exceptions, that you can use them. But the principle ought to be, in doubt, you have an open meeting. Next question.
Next question is from Patrick Maloney from London Free Press. Please go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Ombudsman, this is not, I don't think specifically for London, it's for all municipalities. The people are able to put in their papers to run for office January 2nd. And to your point that about, voters are more savvy, and I think you'd said the number of complaints your office got in 2013 doubled the ones in 2012. A lot of people who run for office for the first time will seek advice from former councillors, but it seems as if, and I think you've said this before, we're sort of in a new era. What would be your advice to people running for office for the first time as it relates to secret meetings?
Embrace the transparency. You're running for office. Democracy is not something that peaks every 4 years and then vanishes in between elections. The reason why we have a question period in the operations of Queen's Park, the operations of Parliament, the passage of business publicly is to allow the public to see democracy happen, to participate. And so if you think about running for office, you've got to embrace it all. With great power comes great responsibility, and that responsibility to the public is to act in a transparent way. And we will be doing our best to educate new council members. As soon as there's the next election, we will be knocking on everybody's door and delivering them an updated open meeting sunshine law handbook. We'll be doing our part to educate them. But this is very much the case of you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. So I would advise as well those new councillors to stay away from the old councillors, except those that have proven to themselves to embrace transparency. Next question.
Thank you. Next question is from Jeff Duchovny from the Oshawa Express. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. In your conference so far, you've mentioned Oshawa a few times about the procedures it now uses for recording its meetings and praise them for doing so. I just want to ask what the Ombudsman Office does to ensure the integrity of the recordings that it's receiving and what it does when it receives them to go over the content that's in them.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What do we do when what?
Sorry, how do you ensure the integrity of the recordings you're getting, like making sure that they're all complete and that the content in them,
Our reports or city council reports? Our reports or city council reports?
Pardon me?
Or recordings. Well, we get them from we get the recordings from the clerk of the city, and we have to rely on the good faith of those giving us those recordings that they're complete. We also, if there's any doubt, we still retain the ability to interview those that were at the meeting, but we haven't seen any reason to doubt the accuracy of those recordings. We do oversee 191 municipalities. As people are out to undermine our work, it's possible to undermine our work, but I have no reason to believe that that's what's happening in Oshawa. Next question.
Thank you. Next question is from Laura Stricker from the Sudbury Star. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Ombudsman. You say in your report that there are more than double the amount of complaints this year as opposed to last year. Do you think that's because councils are behaving worse, or are people just more informed about what options they have to make these complaints?
I think generally, if I had to rate municipal council adhering to the open meetings requirement of the law, it would be giving them a mediocre rating. I don't think that they've gone any better or worse. I think they've probably been, it's probably been an outstanding issue for a long time. I think that that has been passed on from generation to generation, from election to election. I think what we are seeing, though, is a much more conscientious citizenry who are involved in what's happening in their local government like never before. I mean, a good example is Sudbury, where once we were ousted at an emergency meeting called by City Council in the last 15 minutes of a meeting, I believe, in the cold of February in Sudbury. There was the Sudbury Taxpayer Association collected 9,000 postcards of Sudburyans asking that City Council renege their ouster and call us back to be their open meetings investigator. Now that's a pretty phenomenal level of participation by citizens. So they're much, much more involved than they used to, and eventually that's what's going to make a difference. Next question.
Thank you. We have a follow-up from Tobias Moore from the Hamilton Spectator. Please go ahead.
Thanks very much. Mr. Ombudsman, I was wondering, what do you think about a situation where you have these subcommittees that don't necessarily have a clerk present at meetings?
What do I think about? I mean, there are obligations on these committees to take minutes, and I expect them to follow the law like just everybody else. That's why I come back to the point where recording meetings is really the way to go. In 2013, when we're talking about, advancements that go up to YouTube and Flickr and Instagram, having a good old-fashioned tape recorder on a table isn't asking a lot of these municipalities, and that's been our point since the last year. And I'm pleased to see some of them have accepted it, but unfortunately, the majority are still not recording properly their proceedings.
André, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What have you recommended in terms of any kind of punishment for violating the act?
I think we should be inspiring ourselves of the U.S. experience. I think there should be an individual consequence. Some U.S. states have fines, even imprisonment for defying the act. And if there's anything that will get recalcitrant council's attention, it is to hold them personally liable for breaking the law. So right now, I'm not recommending anything more precise than that, but I'm recommending to the Premier that it is a conversation she should be having.
I see that Toronto is not named at all in here. Is it, is this city one that actually is a good example of what other places should be doing?
No, simply because we don't have jurisdiction over the City of Toronto. That's the reason why it's not mentioned.
How many places are there that you don't have jurisdiction?
There's 444 municipalities in Ontario, of which 191 fall within our office's mandate. The others, in the case of the City of Toronto, is a separate category. They're exempted. The others have simply opted out of our fine and free services. Thank you very much.
De modifier la loi pour avoir plus de conséquences. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez en fait de la province? Qu'est-ce que vous voulez avoir comme changement?
En ce moment, il n'y a aucune conséquence lorsqu'il y a violation de la loi. Donc, ça l'invite justement les villes qui sont récalcitrantes de ne pas obéir la loi parce qu'il n'y a pas de conséquences. Je recommande qu'il y ait une conséquence personnelle. En autres mots, qu'il y ait des amendes qui soient imposées aux conseillers qui sont récalcitrants, qui n'obéissent pas la loi. Et à ce moment-là, on verrait, je pense, un respect pour la loi qu'on ne voit pas en ce moment.
Vous dites que certains politiciens utilisent des ruses?
Politiciens, oui. Certains politiciens utilisent des ruses, comme par exemple s'assurer que la majorité des conseillers ne sont pas présents à une rencontre. Des fois, s'assurer que lorsqu'on a une majorité, qu'un conseiller s'absente de la pièce et ensuite revient, ensuite un autre le remplace à l'extérieur de la pièce pour s'assurer qu'il n'y a pas de majorité, un vote majoritaire à la rencontre. Il y en a d'autres qui se rencontrent dans des restaurants et puis se rencontrent à huis clos pour discuter des affaires de la ville et puis de se mettre d'accord sur les résultats d'un vote. Et le vote devient plutôt une formalité qu'autre chose, alors que les réunions publiques ont comme objectif de publiciser la discussion entre les conseillers pour qu'il y ait une transparence et pour que le public puisse s'impliquer dans les décisions des conseils municipaux.
Pouvez-vous nous expliquer rapidement les deux villes qui ont le plus de plaintes, London et Sudbury, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé dans ces deux cas-là? Je comprends qu'à London, c'était une rencontre, entre autres, qui a suscité beaucoup de plaintes, et à Sudbury, c'était la rencontre pour demander de ne plus vous avoir, vous, enquêté sur eux. Pouvez-vous nous expliquer qu'est-ce qui s'est passé dans ces deux villes-là?
Bien, écoutez, dans le cas de la ville de London, c'était une rencontre à huis clos dans un restaurant. Et puis, la raison pour laquelle on a eu tant de plaintes, c'est qu'on avait fait une enquête à London l'année précédente où presque tous les mêmes faits se sont présentés. Et donc, quand la rencontre a eu lieu et qui ont été très médiatisés, donc lorsque le conseil municipal de London s'est rencontré au restaurant encore une fois, eh bien là, on avait toutes sortes de témoins au restaurant qui nous appelaient, qui appelaient les médias. Et puis, c'est là, lorsqu'on a fait enquête, on a vu qu'il y avait une majorité de conseillers qui étaient présents et puis qu'il y avait eu des discussions quant au budget qui passait la semaine suivante. Le cas de Sudbury, il y a eu énormément d'intérêt à Sudbury par les citoyens lorsque le conseil municipal a tenté de se soustraire à notre juridiction et puis a réussi à le faire. Et puis, ça a créé tout un brouhaha à Sudbury.
Would you like to see these guys go to jail?
You know, we're so far away from that. I just like some kind of consequence. And I think, again, without any consequence, the province becomes an enabler to these secret and illegal meetings. Thank you.
Describe the meetings as illegal, but in any of the meetings that you found inside your jurisdiction or outside of your jurisdiction, did you hear or know of any illegal activities that might have taken place at those illegal meetings? I know that the meetings are illegal, but are you concerned that there's municipal politicians in there that have
Small
illegal...
crack cocaine? No.
But no other land transfer, you know, all that stuff.
No. I don't. I'm not aware of anything beyond that. Okay.
Sur votre juridiction, ça ne veut pas dire qu'il n'y aura pas d'enquête, par exemple.
Mais le problème, c'est que les municipalités qui ne tombent pas sous ma compétence sont libres d'embaucher qui ils veulent pour prendre les plaintes de rencontres à huis clos. Donc, on a vu certaines municipalités qui embauchent l'ancien maire ou l'ancien chum du conseil de ville. Ensuite, ils n'ont pas les outils qu'on a dans la loi sur l'Ombudsman. Tandis que moi, lorsque je mène une enquête, j'ai tous les outils dans la loi. Contraindre le témoignage de témoins, le droit d'entrer à n'importe quel endroit de la ville, d'obtenir la collaboration entière du conseil municipal, ce qui n'existe pas lorsque un conseil de ville se soustrait de ma compétence. Merci.